Good talking to you. God bless you, good brothers. Dr. Johnson, I'd like to get your opinion on what's going on with Simone Biles from a distance. What do you think's happening?
I'm not sure. It looks to be some sabotage. I mean, it could be psychological duress. You know, being black and being at the top of your game in a white-controlled, white-dominated sport is not an easy thing. Just ask Tiger Woods or Serena Williams. So it could just be a lot of fallout from that. She may also just be getting sick and tired, you know, of the white control and the white sabotage. You know, but I expect her to rebound. I expect her to come back next Olympics. You know, her expectations for herself are so high. And that would help explain why she kind of bowed out and withdrew from the Olympics, because she, you know, fell behind and probably thought the chance of her winning gold, first place, was not a good one. So I'm not too concerned. I do expect her to rebound. Those things happen. But she does need to be careful.
You know, I had an opinion about that, you know, because I've been seeing a lot of new images of her. She had like a makeover. You know, face makeover and all this and that, and doing some magazine covers and doing some photo shoots. She got a whole bunch of new stuff out there. And I was saying to myself, she probably maybe lost herself, don't know who she is now anymore. She look in the mirror and say, I ain't used to look like that, but I'm looking like this now. Who am I really? You know, and then you get up on them parallel bars and stuff, and you got to have absolute concentration. You can't be wondering about, is this me or is that me?
Right.
And not only
now,
that,
the makeover, she look more European or less, more African?
Well, she looks, they try to make her, how can I say this? They try to make her look more lavish.
Okay.
Well, the other thing, too, you got to be concerned about when you're dealing with black athletes, celebrities, too, but athletes more so, because, you know, their particular talent is more physically demanded. It's not just mental, it's extremely physical. And, you know, you get so tied up in the hype of your celebrity, and you get so tied up into all the money-making ventures, you know, that your status brings you, that it takes you away from the practice that made you who you are. And, you know, you saw this with Mike Tyson, you know, so much is going on around you and people grabbing for your money that you don't have time to be Mike Tyson, meaning you don't have time to practice. You don't have time to train. You don't have time to perfect your craft. So if you don't have an inner circle that really cares about your love for your sport or your profession, you're going to fall. And that's why as soon as Cus D'Amato passed on, Mike kind of lost it, because it was Cus that kind of kept all that other stuff away so Mike could just focus on what he was. You look at Floyd Mayweather, you know, even though he's very much about the money and talking about the money, his father, I believe, you know, who was his manager, really helped keep all the distractions away, at least during the time it was necessary for him to train and box. You know, so you need somebody on your team who cares enough about your love for your sport that they can keep all that other stuff off bay until the off season. And unfortunately, for a lot of our folks, they're not used to having money, so they're not used to being able to manage or balance the demands of building that economic empire with the demands and the physical obligations of staying in shape and remaining at the top of your craft. Michael Jordan, you know, is somebody who I think probably done. Kobe Bryant is another. They were able to do an excellent job of managing the economic with the physical. You know, Mike and Kobe, although they definitely are not two of the most loyal Africans, so they don't go on that list. I'm not mentioning them because they were loyal. I'm just speaking purely about their physical dedication to their craft and how they were able to keep everything out of their lives until the off season came.
Yeah, I think that just like the female tennis player, she had to take a break, a mental break. You know, because, you know, when you got got a lot of people looking at you, you feel like you're under a microscope and you're afraid to make a mistake.
And also trying to, you know, make money off you. You know, they're always the target of exploitation, you know, and so they're constantly dealing with exploitation. They're constantly dealing with racism. And then, of course, when you are a black celebrity, you know, you also have to toe the line between being a coon or keeping your personal integrity, because you know the minute you call out racism, your stock is going to drop. You know, white people do not like black celebrities exposing racism. So you can't expose it. You have to act like it's something that it's not. So you have to live a false public life. There's no black celebrity from LeBron James on down who doesn't live a false public life. They're not really allowed to say the things that they want to say because they will lose the support that they get from white people. And so a lot of them bite their tongue their entire life until they retire, and then they finally let you know what they really went through, because white people are not interested in being reminded that they're racist.
I haven't heard a lot of retired players. I haven't heard a lot of retired players or police tell the true story.
Yeah, but they often have to wait so long to do it, you know, and then they often still never tell the truth.
That's what I'm saying. Why? I mean, do they hold an allegiance to that or something?
Well, the thing is, once you retire, if you didn't take care of your money, meaning you don't have enough of it to live off, guess what? You got to do a second hustle. You know, now you want to be on the talk shows like a Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal. Not to say their money isn't right, but I'm just saying when a lot of athletes don't have their money right or are looking for a second career under the umbrella of sports, they often have to continue cooning. So the question becomes, at what age do you give all this up and become the genuine person? You don't. So a lot of them are going to die with their coon bedroom slippers on,
hoping that they get a call.
Going to leave this earth a coon. I think he's a real coon, though. Like, I don't think Charles Barkley is faking. I think Charles Barkley is a real coon. Like, I think that's who he is.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq might be faking it.
I don't know.
I think Shaq got a lot more common sense than Charles Barkley, but Shaq is a super coon, too, just by virtue of the things he said out of his mouth. Like, those two guys, if they belonged to another race, some of the things they said out of their mouth, they would be ostracized. Like, they always take the side of the oppressor in damn near every issue. It's just sad. Because in Shaquille O'Neal, you're looking at one of the biggest black men in America. You're one of the biggest, most physically intimidating black men in America, and to know that you are a total loyalist to the white power structure, and to be as dark and as richly melanated as you are, is just a sad loss to the black community. He is what I would call a psychological casualty. We have a lot of psychological casualties. African people walking around in an African body, but whose minds have been destroyed by the white power structure. He's a psychological casualty. Barack, Michelle, Colin Powell, Clarence Thomas. We have a lot of psychological casualties, and there's going to be more, because in this war, one of the biggest parts of the war is the war of propaganda. And
misinformation.
Been winning that war against black people for a long time because we don't control our own propaganda system. We do not have a black news network in the fullest sense of the word that is not funded by blacks, that is not funded by non-Africans. We don't have that. If something goes wrong today in Africa, we have to turn to the news controlled by another race to know what happened. How did we hear about Hurricane Katrina? CNN. How did we hear about Michael Brown and Freddie Gray? The white man's news. We do not have a global African news network. That is dangerous. That we right now are only able to know what's happening to other black people through the mouths and through the media of other people. And that's why I go back to my Garvey, when Garvey said, you got to be prepared. And black people are not prepared. Like, we are not prepared to defend ourselves. We're not prepared if they shut down all these supermarkets that are also owned by non-Africans. We're not prepared if the water becomes undrinkable. We're not prepared for anything. And we're not even thinking about being prepared, because the last thing on black people's priority list is being concerned about what happens to black people.
So, Eric, you had any other comments or questions?
No, I just hope our youth begin to develop some type of coping mechanisms to handle the stress of their, whether it's their spiritual, developing their spiritual foundation, or just belief in self and their culture. Because, what's happening to Simone and Naomi may not be, these may not be individual situations. This may be a new trend that we're seeing amongst our young African Americans or young Africans that they're having difficulties dealing with life in general and racism and specifically. And this may be something new that we really have to look at in terms of what ways can they do to cope with these issues.
I think they expected the Africans born here in America to bring home most of the goals. And so
they do.
Yeah, you know.
They absolutely do. The only time America claims her so-called Africans, I say so-called because to be an African automatically means you're not an American, but the only time we're included in the body politic of the citizenry of the United States is when it's time for the Olympics to make America look good, when it's time to go to war to help America steal resources from other people, and when it's time to pay taxes. That's it. Outside of Olympics, U.S. military service, and paying taxes, America doesn't want to see. Oh, and
entertainment.
Voting.
Voting,
you're an American. When it's time to pay taxes, you're an American. When it's time to go to the Olympics, you're an American. And when it's time to serve in the military, you're an American. I'm kind of split on the entertainment piece, because although white folks like to be entertained by black people, I don't see black entertainment as critical to the maintenance of the white power structure as is the voting, the military service, the Olympics. Because, see, when we go and win the medals for America, we are reinforcing a very dangerous global narrative that says America can't be that bad. If America is that bad, why are so many black athletes willing to fly all over the world, practice and train for years in order to help America look good by winning these gold, silver, and bronze medals? If you guys are catching that much hell, why do you? And this is why you have to hold black celebrities accountable, because guess who suffers for their coonism? The everyday black man and woman. If LeBron James gets on TV and talks about how great America is right after somebody just got shot by police, he just undermined the lives of every black person in the country. And if you notice, whenever our celebrities do speak, our scholar celebrities, any of them, no matter how bad they castigate the U.S., no matter how harshly they criticize America, they always end their conversation with, I love my country. It's the best place in the world. And once they say that, Baba David, they have just unsaid everything that came out of their mouth before they said that. You can't talk about how racist a country is and then turn around and say, I love it. That is a contradiction. You have never seen a European Jew talk about how bad the European Jewish Holocaust was and then turn around and say, I love Germany. You don't see that. But black people, we're such a contradiction because we want to be accepted by white people.
Don't want to be offensive.
I absolutely, unequivocally believe that 90% of all black people in America do not want to be free. They do not want to be equal. They do not want to be liberated. They want to be accepted.
Right.
Yeah, if they was free, they wouldn't know what to do.
Independent bone in our collective bodies.
You know what? You talk about independent bone. I was just telling somebody today. You know those Aldi supermarkets all around the city. I don't know where they are. I don't know if they're in Louisiana, but here in Philadelphia, they have a lot of Aldis. They're like a discount grocery store.
Right.
But they're all going out of business. They're closing all the stores. And I said this would be an excellent opportunity for some black people to get together, co-op their monies, and buy up them stores.
Exactly. It's no difference than the charter schools, Baba David. When the public schools start shutting down, you know, that we had this whole big national inner city black public school shutdown, which was birthed by the gentrification movement. Because in order to get rid of black people, you got to get rid of the schools that teach the children. And so you had all these schools closing down, and black people running around like it's a crisis. How is it a crisis that a school that you said does not properly educate your children is closing down? That's not a crisis. That's a blessing. The only reason why it's a crisis to black people is because we're not economically organized to purchase those schools. Every closed school in Philly should have been bought by black folks. Every closed school in Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore should have been purchased by black people. It's only a crisis because we're not organized to deal with it. Like now, you're speaking about all these supermarkets. I wasn't aware that they were closing down. If we were organized, it's a blessing. We buy the whole chain for all our supermarkets that we need.
That's right.
But we're not organized, and we're not even thinking about getting organized, and that's why black people are dead last, and we're going to remain dead last because we have gotten comfortable being dead last because we absolutely do not want to entertain any conversation that requires collective work and responsibility.
Okay.
If you want black people to work together, you have to do it under the banner of a religion. You have to do it under the banner of a fraternity. You have to do it under the banner of a Masonic organization or a professional organization or a gang affiliation. You cannot get black people to work together on something that is supposed to benefit all black people.
Why? I mean, you're a psychologist. I know that you're a child psychologist.
Self-hatred. We have been socially engineered by public school and black church. We have been socially engineered by the white public school and the black church to not be concerned with issues of race. They have done a thorough job of convincing and brainwashing black people, the black church and the white government. Now, most people would say, how do those two go together? The black church, because the black church also teaches you to forget about race. It's about Jesus. It's about Muhammad. It's not about your skin tone, which is a total political nonsense. That is a ridiculous statement to teach black children that your race don't matter. Your race is the only thing that has ever mattered in this world. Everything you do, every opportunity you get, every piece of trouble that you encounter, every job you've ever been on was dictated and controlled by your race. But you get these religions that brainwash black people into believing God does not bless those who are concerned about racial issues. And nothing could be further from the truth. Look how well off the European Jews are by focusing on their race. And look at how well the Mexicans and Arabs are by focusing on their race. If you don't take care of your community, who is going to take care of it? You see? That's why when you look at a lot of these organizations that came after the Honorable Marcus Garvey, respect to all of them, but the only reason why they were able to organize black people is because they gave them a religion. Garvey is the only one to organize our people globally on a race-first platform. Everybody else had to use religion or fraternal association because of the self-hate that is so deeply entrenched in the psyche of the black man and black woman. We don't want to hear nothing about blackness. And a big part of that, Baba David, is because we have suffered so much because of it. We have suffered so much because of our blackness that we don't want it mentioned. Do not bring it up.
You know,
I would argue that black people have less tolerance for conversations on race than white people in many cases.
They don't want to hear that black stuff.
They don't want to hear it. You hear him say it all the time, that black stuff. He's pro-black. Do you realize we're the only race in the country? You can't find another group that has a word like pro-black. There's no such thing as pro-Mexican amongst Mexicans. There's no such thing as pro-Chinese amongst Chinese. There's no such thing as pro-Italian amongst Italians. You know why? Because it's normal to be pro-Italian if you're Italian. It's normal to be pro-Jewish if you're Jewish. It's normal to be pro-Mexican if you're Mexican. It is not normal to be for black people if you're black. That's why when black people find black people who care about their blackness, their race, their culture, their creed, it is such an anomaly. It is so strange. And that's a shame, Baba David.
I know.
Most black people being concerned about racial issues is an anomaly. It is an exception to the rule. How can you catch up when most of your people don't even want to be identified with the group they belong to?